We are live.
Ryan Caldwell, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So you're fishing this weekend with your brother?
Yeah, I am.
Where at?
So I think we're gonna fish on the Cowlitz River up in Washington. We're gonna run
For steelhead?
for late springers and the early run of summer steelhead.
Okay. And for the people who aren't listening, what's a late springer?
It is a salmon that came in a couple months ago, and they're just coming toward the end of the run. So hopefully you can get some bright ones, but most of them are gonna start turning color already.
Well, that's awesome. I love fishing the Cowlitz. So you're fishing out of your drift boat?
Yep.
And do you have a motor on there where you run back up, or do you just do one long drift?
The motors I can only use at certain water levels. Right now the river's dropped down, which is a miracle because it's been way too high for way too many months.
Yeah.
And they just dropped it down to 5,000 K, which is awesome, perfect. So at that point I can't use my motor, so I just row it. It's a drift boat.
Did you have any success this spring fishing for kings? Because
I didn't actually end up fishing much this year. I went out twice and caught fish twice, but we didn't really hit the springers. The rivers were blown out most of the time, so I really didn't get to fish much. Plus, we had a lot of other stuff going on, banquet and stuff.
yeah, well, we'll get to that in a second. But it was a drag that the rivers were blown out because I didn't go springer fishing once this season.
Yeah, it was horrible. The whole from January on, it's either the rivers blew out, the rain was too high, or it got warm real quick and the snow melt, and then they had to let water out of the dams. Partial of the reason the Cowlitz Rivers got issues is because they're having some dam problems, and they want to make sure the water level's real low at the upper lake, so they keep draining it. And then power loads on, like when people need more power within, I don't know if we go to California, but we're sending power around.
Yeah.
And when the power needs go up, the water gets higher. So
Interesting. Yeah, all my Springer buddies, they're been walleye fishing a lot this year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys are walleye fishing? But
well, where there has been springers, there's been triple the amount of boats this year. So it's kind of, if you want to go and combat fish out of boats, it's been it's not my cup of tea. It's not what I'm doing with my nonprofit is combat fishing.
yeah, I mean, I don't mind combat fishing like in Buoy 10,
Yeah.
but yeah, on the Cowlitz, no thanks. So I'm gonna. What's really cool is you and I met briefly at the Sportsman Show last year. We came by your booth for Got Your Six Fishing, and we'll dive into that in just a second. And 4th of July is coming up, and we have a long list of guests, and really wanted somebody that kind of represented wounded warriors to come on, or combat wounded vets to come on for the holiday, and you're the first person I thought of. So thanks for making the drive down. So I'm going to ask you, so what I was trying to say is you and I have only met for about 10 minutes that one day, so it's going to be a great time to get to know you a little better. So we do this thing most every time. I missed it last time, and Ryan reminded me when we were done, but I'm going to say a few things of what I think you are, and then you tell me where I'm correct or incorrect, and then fill in any gaps. Husband?
Nope.
But you're engaged, right?
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Father?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. 0 for 2. Wounded combat vet?
Yes.
Owner of a nonprofit?
Yes.
Founder of a nonprofit?
Founder and president.
Okay. Avid fisherman?
Yes.
Avid hunter?
No.
Okay. What did I miss? What did I leave out?
I'm an avid outdoorsman. I really enjoy the outdoors. It's one of my cup of teas, but my real thrill in life is fishing and my nonprofit. So not mine, but the nonprofit. So to elaborate, I'm a combat wounded veteran. I did about 15 years. I've started in 1992 and went to 2005.
In what branch?
I was in the Army.
Okay.
I got to the rank of staff sergeant. I was in Somalia, Haiti, Bosnia. Iraq was the last one. Was wounded, received a Purple Heart, and was pretty messed up. And that's kind of how I started the nonprofit.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Sincerely appreciated.
Thank you.
So one thing we forgot to talk about before the podcast started is any subjects that you don't want to talk about on the online. So if I ask any questions that you don't feel comfortable talking about, that's fine too. Just let me know. But how open are you to talking about your service and getting wounded? Is that a common question? I'm sure running your foundation you get a lot. Is that a sensitive topic? Because I know with some veterans they're very open and will tell you everything that happened, and some they don't enjoy talking about it.
I don't talk about it. I do answer questions about it. If you ask me a question, I'll be glad to tell you. It's just something I don't strive on. It's one of the coping mechanisms I learned in my life was to just not bury it, but to move on and understand that what happened, and there's not much I can do about it. So moving forward is the best way to do that.
And how long did it take you to kind of come to that mindset? Did you
I-
go a while where you were just keeping it inside and trying to bury it down?
Yeah, I actually, from the time I came home to about 5 to 6 years after, I was pretty torn up. I was an alcoholic. I was falling down a real bad path of depression and suicide, and I was keeping it inside, and the alcohol sure didn't help, and the medications that they had me on, and just I had to get in the mindset that things are the way they are, and life's a up and down roller coaster, and you got to recognize when it's up and when it's down, and enjoy when it's up.
Yeah. Well, what made you change your mindset? Was it something inside of you that did it, or did you have outside help?
I woke up one day and just got tired of being tired. It sounds kind of like a Alcoholics Anonymous thing, but I really did. I came too close to ending my life too many times, and I know I was loved and had friends, and I just felt like it was, I don't know, I just woke up and one day I just said, okay, I'm done. I'm done doing this. I did some stupid things, and I didn't want to wake up and have to apologize to anyone for my actions, and I wanted to live in the now and realize that with what things are going on in my life, I can make life better.
Talked real quickly about what we talked about yesterday. I can't remember which guest said, life is good.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about Joe Rogan, when he did his stand-up comedian. You watch his stand-up at all? He's got a new Netflix special.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. But I think my favorite part was when I was watching it, he was kind of making jokes about life being hard. And some of the audience goes, yeah, life's really hard. And he stopped his skit or his script, turned right to him and said, why is your life hard? And he said, just hard, man. Life's just hard. And he goes, maybe it's the way you're living it. And to totally abandon his script and go to that and be that witty to say, life is great. We live in a great time, the best time ever.
Yeah.
We're the best medical technology, longest lifespans, the best country. I mean, we live in the best time, right? And so, but yeah, that I thought that was great. He said, well, maybe it's the way you're living it.
It's what you make of it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, 110%. I know people that are in misery. They're 50 years old and they're in misery of what happened to them when they were 15. And I mean, that's them. But for me, I didn't want to be that person. I realized that I can make tomorrow better by just moving forward and not forgetting what happened, but just understanding that I can be better. I can do better.
Yeah, and it's part of who you are now.
It is. I try to spread that. I try not to be gossip. I try not to be negative. I try to be forward, and I joke a lot, and I tell bad jokes, and maybe I might offend people, but it's not my true intent. My true intent is just to be jokeful, and
yeah, well, people
a lot of that
people are soft.
A lot of that's my military history of just being kind of an ass sometimes, but I really don't intend to hurt anyone.
Yeah. So you changed your mindset. This is about, so you came back in 05, so this is about 2010. You decided to make some mental mindset changes, right?
Yeah.
And then did you have any communities to go and get some mentorship or be surrounded by people that are going through what you're going through?
Yeah,
Did you seek that out, or?
Well, I live in a big military community, so up by the Fort Lewis area, the JBLM, there's a lot of programs up there. I tried counseling through the VA, and I tried doing other types of counseling, and it was just, and I don't recommend this for anyone, but it was what worked for me. Is I just woke up and said, tomorrow's gonna be a better day. So I did. My family supported me. They went through the bad times, and then they supported me through the good times. And I'd like to say there was one organization, one magical pill out there that did it. And I know that the magic isn't forever. I got to work at what I'm doing to be where I am now. I mean, it's not going to end. Today's not the day that, what I'm trying to say, I'm saying that I got to work at it. I really got to work at it. Things go up and down. It's a roller coaster. Life can suck sometimes, and life can be great too.
Well, and there's definitely got to be some sort of permanent anxiety, with that post-traumatic stress syndrome that never really goes away, right? You just have to learn to manage and live with it.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
You got to learn coping skills. There's things I can't do that other people can do, and there's things that I can do that other people can't do that have the same problems I do. I'm not a great speaker as I used to be. I used to be a big, bold, non-commissioned officer. I could get in front of people and command them and direct them and talk, on a whim. Now I get broken up and I stutter and I get nervous and I get anxiety, but I manage it and I work through it.
So, since you live in a military community, the first thing I noticed on your website were some statistics, and Ryan will pull those up. I think they're just on the homepage. But you have to have known a lot of people that were in your shoes that were struggling with that mindset change. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know a lot. I mean, pretty much everybody that I've been in contact with within the military that has done what I've done has seen some bad stuff. So, yeah, I try to relate to people. I'm more than me telling them what I tell them how I cope, and if it fits them, it fits them. But I tell them, I just listen to them, and I might give them as much as I can to help them. I'm not no psychologist. I'm not no doctor, and I know that I better not, say one thing or the other. But I just try to give them that, hey, it can get better.
Do you find that relating to them on something that has nothing to do with your service is a good way to kind of be there for each other and kind of build rapport with each other, kind of like going fishing?
Yeah, camaraderie is a powerful tool. When you're with your buddies or buddies that have the same relation or same things in common, things just get a lot comfortabler. And comfort is, everybody wants to be comfortable. So yeah, I just kind of relate, and there's been even people that don't even know I'm military, and I just kind of let them do what they're gonna do, and
yeah, everyone stays out of everyone's business and no one gets offended. So when was your aha moment where you decided that you were going to take on a project like starting a foundation to help wounded warriors or wounded vets?
Well, in my healing process, when it was about, I quit drinking about 7 years ago. I kind of started getting on a good path. And then about 4 years ago, I went to a fly fishing organization in Montana.
Do you remember the name of it?
Yeah, it's Heroes in Quiet Water. I'm spacing it.
Heroes in Quiet Water?
No, it's Warriors in Quiet Waters. Warriors in Quiet
cool
Waters
name.
in Montana.
Yeah.
And
we're at Montana, Missoula
it's in
area?
Bozeman.
Bozeman?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm going there in August too. I can't believe I spaced it.
Really?
But I've fished throughout the time, but when part of depression is you lose your ability to enjoy things. And I was really having a hard time enjoying what was going on in my life. And I went over there for a fly fishing event for a week, and something clicked. I just felt like
You went over as a guest,
I went over as a guest.
and was that a donated trip?
It was a donated trip. They're an amazing organization that takes out brings veterans there, and they treat them like amazing for a week, teach them fly fishing, give them some other coping skills, and it just, when I was there, I just clicked. It was like, this is what's bringing me out of my cloud, and it's getting me out. It's so peaceful. It's so amazing. It's rewarding when you catch a fish.
Oh yeah.
It's a hobby.
Was that the first time you've been fly fishing?
No,
So
I've done it my whole life. But I lost, every time I try to do something, I wouldn't continue through with it because of depression. With the depression I had, I would just I'd take 5 steps and 2 steps backwards because I couldn't focus. I couldn't enjoy anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it rekindled my love for fly fishing. And so when I came back, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take out veterans fishing. I was I'm unable to work. I was unemployable through my injuries, and I couldn't sit and do nothing. That's something I made the first 5 years of my mistakes, was not really doing anything, and it made me go crazy. I was a hard worker throughout my life, so being told at 35 years old that you're not going to work again, it's hard. It's really hard.
Well, I think you find that with people that retire too. When you just don't have that purpose, when there's nothing to look forward to tomorrow,
You have all the ability. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously you have your injuries, but
and there's no reason to get out of bed.
Yeah.
What's it all for? So you gotta have something to wake up for
Right.
and to.
And I didn't have a lot of money, so taking a trip to, I don't know, Africa or something to go do something cool was,
Out of the question.
out of the question. Plus, I was kind of tied up with medical appointments and stuff like that. I did get out, but I wasn't.
so if you're how did you say it? The VA said that you're classified as unable to work.
Yeah.
What happens if you work?
So
Are there any consequences? Like,
I would lose all my benefits.
so if you found a cool job where your injuries weren't preventing you from doing that, you'd lose your
Yeah, they
VA
have
benefits.
a point, a pay point where if you make more than that, you lose your benefits. And that also goes with Social Security.
Yeah.
So when you're,
The Social Security disability.
yeah,
The
Social
disability.
Security disability and the VA, once you get your rating, you can be re-rated, which I wouldn't have mind going back to work, but I would have loved going back to work. I have a lot of potential to make a lot of money, and from going to an education level with college, I had college, down to performing as a 6th grader educational wise, because I had a massive brain injury.
Do you mind telling that story?
Yeah, I took shrapnel to my head in a car bomb. Part of the engine block of the other car hit me in my Kevlar, and
And were you walking or were you in a Humvee?
I was
or-
in a Humvee. The back of it blew out, and the shrapnel came through the.
And this was in
back
05?
Yep.
It was
04.
or 4. And was this when all that controversy that the Humvees weren't armored enough?
Yeah, I was luckily that time in a up armor Humvee, which wasn't very up armor because it was so closed in, everything blew out. When the concussion blew out the back, blew off everything. We were on fire. All the big heavy doors blew open. I had contusions all over my lower extremities. I dang near fell out of it. And then during that situation, we were under direct fire, and our tires blew out, and we were able to, I guess, I don't really remember the situation, but we moved forward. The driver moved us forward. Our convoy moved forward. We were in a 2-vehicle convoy, and we moved up to a checkpoint and got out of safety.
So were you? And this was in Iraq?
Yep.
What part of Iraq?
It was in southern Baghdad.
Okay. And when you say a 2-vehicle convoy, so that's just 2 Humvees,
Mhm.
and are there soldiers around the Humvees walking with you, or is it just 2
Not
Humvees?
at that time.
Yeah.
Actually, it was 3. I apologize. It was 3 Humvees, and it was 3. I was in the middle, so the front, and I was in the middle and got hit, and then the other one was behind us.
In the middle, were you just along for the? Were you just riding in the Humvee, or were you operating? Because I know those Humvees have like 50 cows.
I wasn't
on
the
the top
gunner. We had a gunner. He got injured. The driver wasn't touched. I got injured, and there was no effect to the front Humvee or the back Humvee.
So you were in the middle Humvee, and that's the one that got hit.
Yeah.
So you're in southern Baghdad, and the 3-vehicle convoy. Did I say that right? Three vehicle convoy. And then was it a car bomb that was car parked, or was it moving?
No, it was parked. It was parked.
So there was nobody in it. It wasn't like a suicide.
So we don't know. There was not a body found, but they generally don't just pack a vehicle full of explosives and sit there. Well, they have, but I mean, in the situation, we don't know. There was one people saying that there was a body or there was somebody in there, and then so we don't know. Either way, it was.
And how close was it? I mean, were you guys driving by, and did you see the car, or was it?
Yeah, we were about 15 feet from the car when it blew up.
And there's probably cars like that all over, so it's not like it was it stood out or.
Yeah, it was just parked on the side like any other broke down piece of junk on the side of the road, and just I didn't even notice it. I didn't see it, and it blew up, left a huge crater, and destroyed our Humvee. And
Wow. And so when that bomb went off, is it like the stories you hear in the movies and stuff where you black out the rest of that, or do you remember after the bomb went off?
I have a few seconds where I did black out, so I don't know exactly what happened during that time frame. We had some rounds cook off in the Humvee, and it's kind of a blur.
And when you say rounds cook off, those are just loose rounds that went off in the Humvee because of the explosion?
Yeah, because of the heat. The vehicle's partially on fire, so.
And you said earlier, too, while this was going on, you guys were taking on fire?
Yeah, there was fire from one of the plantation fields on the side of the road.
Wow, that's amazing. And so how far away from base were you?
There was luckily a checkpoint about 2 miles from where we were at, so we moved over into that area, and then I got taken to the hospital.
So was it too far from where you're at to get to that checkpoint?
No.
And I mean, what was it? Were you in shock, or I mean, what was the pain?
I was in shock. Well, it was what do you call that?
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight.
Just full of adrenaline.
Yeah, I was so pumped up. It didn't hit me until about, I don't know, maybe a half hour later, and I was just in blah.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the first time I got injured, so it was kind of like, God, not again. I was more mad or pissed that it happened again, and then I was like, not again.
Yeah. And so, how long did it take to get you from Iraq back to the States?
I didn't return. I went undiagnosed until I got back, which was about 3 months later. I did have the concussion. I had the contusions, and I spent the day in the aid station and at the hospital, and
For 3 months.
no, I didn't. I know. I wasn't in the hospital for 3 months. I was in the aid station, the hospital. I was in a hospital for the day, and then I went back to the base and was kind of on light duty for a time period.
Gotcha.
But at that point in time, afterwards, they found out I've never had high blood pressure. I had high blood pressure. I had all kinds of things go wrong, like bruises and contusions, and then the traumatic brain injury did not actually get figured out until I actually got home, and they did can't remember the test. They pump you with nuclear stuff and track the flow of it, and they realized I had a portion of my brain was injured.
Is it because they didn't have the ability to run those tests in Iraq, or is that?
No, they didn't.
They didn't have it.
And a lot of it was just unknown. They didn't really pay attention that a massive concussion like that, it's hard to see, It's not a missing arm, it's not a missing leg, it's scrambled brains. You can't really tell through just looking at someone.
How did you feel during that time? I mean, you probably knew this just isn't right.
I was a wreck. This was my 5th combat tour, and it just kind of hit me. I was done.
Yeah,
I couldn't.
ready to be done.
Yeah, I was finished. Even though I did want to stay in the military, I had so much time in, and I wanted to continue and retire properly.
Yeah.
So I was pretty mad that happened, and it set me back even farther.
Is it, and I don't mean any offense by asking this, but is it hard leaving in the middle of the battle?
Yeah.
Not knowing that the goal hadn't been reached yet?
Definitely. I was there for several more months, and we actually had some more missions. But when I came home and they told me I was going to medically retire, I wanted to go back. I wanted to be back with my fellas and do what I did. And I love the military.
I'm going to ask you another story, but let's go back to Bozeman, Montana for a minute. So you're in Bozeman, fall in love with fly fishing, and finally break through that wall of having your depression kind of control your interest and your happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then where do you go from there? So how do we get from Bozeman, Montana to Got Your Six Fishing?
So I came back. I was determined. I was going to get a boat, and I was going to start taking veterans out fishing. Just casually get more and more veterans out fly fishing. I also started kind of going to another group called Project Healing Waters.
Project Healing Waters?
Yeah, they do mostly fly. It's all fly fishing, and they tie flies every week. And
Is that local?
it's at the Wounded Warrior Battalion on JBLM.
Okay.
Is where they're a national organization. They have them in Oregon and Idaho. They have them all over. But the one I started going to was in at the Madigan, and so I got back into fly tying.
Nice.
And just tying with them. And then one part of what they don't do is have guided trips like weekly. They do monthly and quarterly trips and get everybody involved. And so I saw that there was a need for somebody to take people out more often. So I saw it, and I was like, I'll buy a boat and I'll start taking vets out.
Do you have any pictures on here when you're out with besides the ones on? For those people listening that aren't into fishing and don't know what a drift boat is, and it's a really cool experience because it's a small boat. How many guys do you take out at a time?
2 at a time.
2 at a time. So you're out for what, 8 hours, 9 hours at a time?
Yeah.
And you're drifting 8 to 12 miles at a time?
Yeah,
Something
5 to 7 miles is average.
And so you get a lot of alone, peaceful time with your buddies.
Yeah.
It's not like you're on a big fishing boat. Oh, these are the statistics I wanted to say. Daily veteran suicide rates 22 a day, 20% of veterans with traumatic brain injury, and 50% of veterans PTSD go untreated, which sounds like yours almost could have.
It would have. When I came back and I started doing the questionnaires, and I just knew there was something wrong. I started realizing that I felt, I started stuttering. I had the tremors really bad. My mind just wasn't right. I couldn't think straight. I was very fuzzy. Everything was, I couldn't comprehend. I couldn't read and comprehend what I was reading. I just knew something was wrong within my brain, and that's what it was. It was partial, just the nerves inside of my brain were. I can't remember what the term was, but I had a little scrambled egg in my head.
Sure. Well, having a car bomb go off and blow up your Humvee, I could see. So back to painting that picture. So you're going down a beautiful river, fishing with one or two. You say take 2 guys out, so there's 3 in the boat.
Yep.
So the quality of time, if you're with people you like, it's a pretty special thing.
Yeah. generally it's two people that don't know each other, so and within 8 hours or whatever that time is, they get to know each other, but they don't, because you're spending more time talking about fishing, and so you don't have really anybody not liking each other because there's not enough time. All you do is you're fishing, you're thinking about fishing, you're enjoying what you see out there. You see an eagle, and so you talk about the eagle, or you see an otter or a beaver or whatever. And Sasquatch. And you just talk about that. So it's just, it gets your mind out of the big picture, and you focus what's on the river. And generally, the rivers we go down are pretty beautiful. So it just takes you away. I've caught myself, and I've caught other vets just staring at the bottom of the river. When the river's clear and there's rocks and things to see on the bottom, it's just incredible. It just takes your mind out, and you just mesmerizing.
Like a meditation almost, right?
It is.
Kind of like staring at a campfire.
Yep, it is. Staring at the bottom of the river is definitely like a campfire. Sometimes I should be paying attention more to the river.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't have anywhere near the type of stress that you've gone through, but I think everyone still needs to have some sort of, have you ever been up to Mount St. Helens? Have you ever fished up there?
At the lake up there?
Yeah, Lake Merrill.
Merrill, yeah.
Have you've been up there?
Yep.
That's where I like to go because there's no cell service.
Yeah.
And they have a night hatch, the Hexagenia hatch.
Yep.
And so that should be starting any day. Usually starts right around the 4th of July. But I'll head up there after work and get a fish for a few hours, silent. Sometimes you're the only person on the water, especially if you go during the week. So, yeah, definitely. So you decided to start taking vets fishing on your own.
Yep.
And were you funding this out of your pocket?
Yeah, I've up to just recently, I've been pretty much paying for everything. I bought my truck, I bought my boat, I bought all the first rods and gear, fishing gear, for both fly fishing and gear fishing. I spent a lot of money investing in Got Your Six.
Yeah, people don't realize how expensive fishing can be.
Yeah, and so kind of goes to how Got Your Six started, really. So I was just going to be a guy taking people out, and I was out on the river, and somebody reported me as
A guide?
a guide, and they came to me and told me, hey, if you don't get a guide license, we're writing you a ticket.
Even if they're not paying you to be out with you?
It's a service. If you're offering a service, you are a guide. So I spent 45 minutes biting my tongue, saying, okay, whatever. And so I had to get the guide license. That was $500, and then insurance is about $1,000 a year. So I had to come up with that, and then all the other stuff that comes with that. And
that's just to be legal.
That's just to be legal. And then I was running the boat. I can take the motor on and off my boat and either row on skinny rivers, which are shallow, or put the motor on and run on rivers or the Puget Sound with my motor. Well, with having a motor on there, you have to have a captain's license. So I had to end up getting a 6-pack captain's license.
Jeez.
For a 30-horse motor that's a 16-foot boat. But it was one of the hardest things I've had to do, especially with my cognitive problems I have.
Because of the testing and everything?
Testing,
Is it a
yeah.
difficult test?
It is very hard.
Really?
It's very hard.
A lot of like navigational stuff and
Yep.
Yeah.
Mathematics and navigation, and if a sailboat with no motor is going this way, or in a F-16 is coming this way, and a moose is coming this way, who's got it right away? And I don't know.
yeah. Is there a lot of sailboats on the Cowlitz River?
Yeah. So it was difficult, but when a friend of mine that was helping with another nonprofit, she's actually my board member now, Erin. She goes, well, why don't you start a nonprofit and help you out with this
Financial burden.
Yeah, the financial parts of it. So she helped start it, and we had a banquet and raised a little bit of money. It helped, and then we just had our second annual one. Just last month went really well.
A 501(c)(3).
Yep.
It's an easy thing to get, right?
It is, but there's a lot of underlying paperwork that you got to figure out.
I've heard they're very difficult to get.
It's a lot, and I have a great board. I accumulated we made a board, and that's part of the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And we just started working at it and created Got Your Six Fishing, a nonprofit 501c3, and there's a lot to it. It's not as easy as it sounds. If it wasn't for the great people that are helping me, I wouldn't be doing it.
How many of your board members are former military, if any?
One. They all have military ties, but
Yep.
one is a veteran right now.
And what was the process like going about, rounding them up and letting them know about Got Your Six? And
Well, two of them came to me to help me. They were running another nonprofit, and at the time, and now we're just kind of throughout the time trying to select a good person that fits.
What
And
you
we
need.
actually need more board members now. We're kind of low in that scenario. We need more volunteers.
yeah,
So, you guys have your banquets and you raise money, and then you use that money to have book trips for these veterans. How do you select the veterans?
So let me kind of go book why we've raised money, or one of the reasons is we kind of came up with a rough budget, and it cost about for me to go to the Cowlitz River is about $75 a person per day. So that's just to the Cowlitz River, and I run up to the Olympic Peninsula, and the costs are different, but that's kind of part of what we're using to figure out our budgeting is that $75 per person per day. So, but to answer your question, how we pick them. We have a Facebook site. It's just Got Your Six Fishing on Facebook. And if you're a veteran, if I post a trip, I put on there, just post that you're in 100%, and you can sign up. And if there's 2 people, you get to go. If they're not consistent repeats. And if there's 5 people, then I do a random pick. I use the Lexi in my house, those little smart things.
Yeah, that you can talk
pick a
to.
number 1 through 20, and she does it, or I use Siri, or
Will they do that? Will Siri do that?
yeah.
I've never tried that. That's a good
Hey
idea.
Siri, pick a number between 1 and 1,000.
Random number between 1 and 1,000 is 625.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty effective. And there's actually a website tool too. You can even narrow it down. There's all kinds of things. So I try to be extremely fair when I'm picking people. I want to take out people multiple times, but I don't want to take people out consistently. And generally the people that get to come out multiple times, either that they didn't catch fish, that happens, or that they really could use the trip, or somebody canceled on me and they're a filler for the next day. It's like that. You put a free refrigerator out on the driveway and no one will take it. You put $10 on it and people will steal it.
Yeah.
When I offer free trips, sometimes it's like that. People just kind of take it for granted. It's not a lot, but they do. So people bail out on me all the time.
And do people feel, does anybody get their pride hurt taking a donated trip?
Yeah, we get some people that say, hey, more injured people could use this. I totally disagree with it because it's not just for injured. One of my biggest things when I went into the military, I was 18 years old. I fished the heck out of Washington. I mean, Nisqually River was my bread and butter. I always on the Nisqually. I grew up there. Yeah. But when I went to New York, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anywhere to go.
What were you doing in New York?
I was in the 10th Mountain Division there in the infantry, and when I flew there, I thought I was going to be in New York City. I was like, "Where's the city?" I didn't realize it was upstate New York. I had no clue. I was from Washington, So I was totally blown out of the water, and I didn't know where to go fishing. I just knew, a couple spots, and I really wish I would have had a mentor. And that's one thing I want to do is mentor and teach people how to fish in this great place. So that's another goal of mine. So that's why I tell those people, yeah, you do deserve it. And if you want to go out, you don't have to feel bad. It's not for just combat wounded veterans. It's for all veterans and all military.
That's awesome. Can we go back to some more stories?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Bosnia.
Yep.
I love talking about Bosnia. What was your experience there like?
I had a quite amazing experience there. I did 2 jobs. One of the jobs there that I ended up doing again in Iraq was going out into the community in a small, generally 2-vehicle convoys, and we would talk to the people. And we'd talk to the imams and the Muslims and the Christians, and we'd talk to them and try to find out the feedback and get intel. And so we were very. I got to go all over Bosnia and talk to all kinds of different people.
So you were trying to get intel on the Serbians coming in?
On the Serbians and finding where they were bunkered in, or finding where the mass grave sites were. And we would take the geologists or the scientists to these mass grave sites. So there's mass grave sites everywhere.
So is this after the invasion?
Yep.
After, so you can't. So the U.S. military came in after Serbia invaded, correct? It wasn't
Yep.
prior. And so you were going out and getting intel to find mass graves.
Yeah, and landmine fields. There was landmines everywhere. So we had multiple purposes. We were looking for the Serbians taking over the Bosnians' homes and killing them.
I'm sorry, just this mass grave thing. Let's go back to that, if you don't mind. How old were these mass graves?
Some fresh, some 10 years. The Serbs, they came in and were genocide. They were wiping out the Bosnians, taking over all of Bosnia. So
What was the deal between the two of them? Was it a religious deal?
Religion.
And the Bosnians were Muslim.
Yep.
And the Serbians
No,
were
Serbs are Muslims and
and the Bosnians were just a different.
Christian and other.
So this is kind of like ISIS before ISIS,
Yeah.
but it was on a national level, like Serbia.
Yeah, Serbia
Yeah.
just came in and started wiping them out.
Yeah, and that was during the Clinton administration, right?
At the end of it,
At the end of it.
yeah. I think, yeah. Because Clinton was when I was in Somalia, so yeah, it's either part Clinton, part Bush.
So, what's it like walking up on a mass grave?
Sick. It's gross. It's horrible. Seeing people that died just because they lived in a place is disturbing, and it wasn't just men. It was everybody. It was kids, families. So it was disheartening.
I'd have to think that would be one of the things that you can't unsee something like that. I mean, that has to just play in your heart, your gut, your mind.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's not a good thing to see.
No.
Yeah, I don't mean to bring it up. Well, I do mean to bring it up, but sorry if that's not a fun thing to talk about. But I think that whole conflict is something that kind of got lost in history.
It is. It's a lot of the stuff got lost in history. Somalia was kind of an embarrassing thing that happened to the military, and
that was during the whole, like the Black Hawk Down movie. That was that period, right?
right. And then a month we came back. Suicide's always been a problem in the military. When we came back from Somalia, we redeployed to Haiti within I think it was 2 months. So people were freaked out. They already spent this time in Somalia. Families were going crazy. And when we got to Haiti, there was a lot of people that got their wives knocked up when we had that short time back, or they had the baby when we were in Somalia. Just weird things of that sort. When wives were like, I can't handle another deployment, and they were leaving their husbands or wives, and there was suicides continually throughout my brigade, my battalion, my
Do
company.
you think that the battle, the type of battles they were fighting in Bosnia and Haiti kind of contributed to that? Because you guys are fighting against genocide in Haiti and in Somalia, right?
Well, Haiti was more a crazy warlord taking over Haiti, and Bosnia was the actual genocide.
Yeah.
And trying to recover. I mean, they had I-4 and S-4. I-4 was the initial force in where we were, and then S-4 was the sustaining force, keeping the Serbians out and trying to get them back out because they just came in. Some of them were kind of nice in a weird way. The Bosnians would get kicked out of their houses or leave them. The Serbs would come in and just take their house, but they would take their pictures and put them on top of the other pictures so that like they knew it was temporarily, like they were being forced to be there. It was a very weird place. Very.
And that conflict you saw the end of, right?
Of Bosnia?
Yeah. So how did that end? Because of did we drive the Serbians out?
The Serbians got drove out completely out, and they're sustained, and the country is just doing really good things as far as I know. Once I left, I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
I forgot about. Well, I didn't forget about it, but I don't pay attention to it, as much because sometimes I just try to forget about where I've been.
I have friends with a family that came here as refugees during that conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And so hearing some of their stories were crazy. Like they would be told what color shirt to wear on a certain day so they didn't get killed.
Yeah, so they could identify who was who.
Yeah. And I don't like getting into polarizing topics on the podcast, but I was asking my friend's dad from Bosnia about guns. And I said, were you allowed to have guns in Bosnia? And he goes, yeah, I had a pistol. And I said, was that good to have during the conflict? He's like, we didn't have it during the conflict. He goes, I got a knock on the door one day, and it was I don't remember what type of police it was, but they were there, and they said, you own this gun, and we want it. And so he handed over his gun to him, and then shut the door, and he said, as soon as that happened, I knew we were going to get invaded by Serbia.
Yep.
So it was just a story I'll never forget hearing. Because everyone talks about that with gun rights. Oh, they're never going to come to your door and take away your guns, but here's a country that did, and look what happened.
Yeah.
So it's just really interesting.
It was an amazing place. Bosnia is probably one of. If I was to ask what my favorite place was, it'd probably be Bosnia. It was beautiful there. Other than you can't just go walk down a trail. There was landmines everywhere. The place was.
Are they still there? Are there still problems with landmines there?
Yeah, they have up till early 2000s. I know that they had like United Nations and private organizations were trying to remove the landmine fields, but there was so many they'll never remove them all. Wow. Yeah. I guess it's like Vietnam. Vietnam was like that too. They were just dropping them everywhere and not marking the fields, and it was kind of a weird thing that you'd see a one-legged dog running around and you knew there was a landmine field somewhere around. I mean, it was, or you just here's some kind of animal or a person or a kid, walk into the wrong area or a vehicle. Yeah, I had a lot of fear coming back after that of driving off-road and going out not on paved roads. It was pretty weird.
Yeah, I guess we take it for granted that we can go down a logging road and not have to worry about landmines.
Yep.
So you're on your second year with Got Your Six Fishing,
Yep.
your second annual banquet.
Right.
I'm sure you're getting a ton of support.
Yeah, we have a lot of support. We're growing. There's more people learning about us. We've taken out about 300, and I think that the sign we have on the website. We need to update it. We're around 350 veterans now, with the slow beginning this year because of the rivers. It's taken a little more time to get more veterans out, but
Does this kind of fill the spot that you were missing when you couldn't go back to work?
Yeah.
Because
the sense of
you're a
accomplishment.
guide. You're a fishing guide.
Yeah.
That's your career, right?
Now,
Yeah.
I don't get paid, but I get paid in other ways.
Yeah.
And this saves my life, so and it's saving others, and it's great.
You have something, Ryan?
I just kind of wanted to dive into some of the stories that that probably fill your heart and your soul with what you're doing. Do you have some very specific experiences of trips where you've been out where it's like, this is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing?
Yeah. We have some really good people that come out. That you can just tell that there's something not good with them. They're not feeling right, and you just talk to them, and they just get a smile on their face. It's not just one specific time. It's been several times, and somebody just gets a big smile on their face, or they catch a fish, and I've had guys literally shaking in the boat from excitement for like at the point that I'm like, can you please stop? It's driving me crazy because it's vibrating through my small boat, and just the excitement, the feel of somebody just being outside of their shell is just incredible. And then big smiles, it's wonderful. I wish I could do that each time and get people that happy, but I've got, there's sometimes we don't catch fish, and people, hey, I had the greatest time. It was so fun. It was beautiful, and I've never done something like this before, and it makes me feel great, and it makes me want to do more and more trips, and I do a lot. I do 2 to 3 a week, and it takes a lot to do that.
So I saw on your website that you also do rod building with veterans.
We do. We started this about a year ago. A master rod builder down in Cathlamet, Washington. His name's Bud Mickelson. He's a Korean War veteran, and he was a guide. He was huge in the fishing community. He's just an amazing guy. He was working with one of the other guys I work with, Jeff Mason with Fishing Trips and Heroes. He's a nonprofit, and he tries to do the same thing. And they were talking, and they were like, well, let's get teaching veterans. And another guy, John Dumit, was teaching it in the kids in the classroom. We pulled together, and we started learning, and we did like train the trainer. They trained me how to do it, and 2 other guys. And right now, one of the guys is going to do a class on Saturday. And we just absorbed it into the nonprofit. Bud Mickelson donated his entire life savings, his rod building equipment to us. And
Wow.
now we do classes. We teach, the initial one is a trout rod. And then we have a advanced classes where you can get all kinds of fancy and
Like fiberglass and
we call it bedazzling the rods. You can do about anything that you can imagine with a fishing pole. You got to use Shadow Batson out of Squim. They give us amazing prices on rods, and it helps us as a nonprofit extremely.
well, and that's cool because not everyone can go out. Like if a vet falls in love with fishing, not everyone can go out and buy a fishing boat or a drift boat and do all that by themselves. But you can go home and build rods
Yeah.
out of your garage.
Yeah, so we want to encourage that. We have extra stuff in the shop that we can loan out, so people can take their stuff home and actually build rods. So a lot of veterans need a sense of accomplishment, and I also that's why I tried to teach them how to fish, how to build a rod, how to tie flies, so they can go home and have something to do and not just sit and stare at a Facebook or
TV.
a computer or TV or the walls. They can do something. Hopefully, change their life like it has mine.
Yeah, get rid of that depression.
Yeah, or get your mind off of the bad things that have happened.
Yeah.
That's part of coping, is to think about other things, not dwelling.
Yeah, get them to that point that you got to in Bozeman.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're going to do the sportsman shows again this year?
We are. We're just signing up. I think it's a great way to get out there and meet people and network and find more donors and sponsors.
Have you picked out your booth at the Portland Expo?
We have not. We're actually hopefully getting in the fishing area this year, though.
Okay.
But we have the same booth as the Puyallup show this year.
If you, when you figure out your booth number, email it to me because
Okay.
we're going to do the Sportsman Show this year.
Oh, right on.
We run into so many people at the Sportsman Show we know,
Uh-huh.
so we're just going to set up a booth as an excuse to be there for the weekend.
Right on.
And so maybe we can get a booth close to you guys.
Right on. It'll be fun.
So what do you think of the museum?
This museum's amazing. They got everything. It's pretty cool. They definitely love hunting.
Well,
I wish I ate game meat and didn't like of Albertson's ribeye because I like to provide my own meat, you know.
Yeah.
But I just don't like the taste of game. Otherwise, I'd hunt a lot.
we can hook you up anytime you want to do an event here. If you find yourself down here for your foundation.
Yeah.
I used to be president of Pheasants forever, so I know a little bit about running the amount of work that goes into running a nonprofit. But we did some banquets here and stuff, so it's a great place for that.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'll take some pictures and post them on my website because this is outstanding.
Yeah, take as many as you want. So, how do people donate? How do they get a hold of you?
So we have the website. Right there on the website, there's a donate tab. You can go to that, donate. We also have,
You want to pull that up, Brian?
we have PayPal, and we can just take.
All right, so I was looking at this. Can you walk me through some of these? So, $22 is the suggested minimum. But then you have what I like about this donate page is you can buy a specific thing. Like if I wanted to donate a fishing trip, there's that option. So it's not like I'm just giving my money and I know where it's going to go, right?
Yeah.
So-
So the 22 is just kind of a campaign. It's to remind people that 22 suicides a day. So we just chose the 22 number. So you can donate. You can change that to whatever amount you like, but that was kind of just the minimum. I don't know how to really set that up other than that.
I'm glad you explained that because I thought that was weird. I go, how do they get to $22? I didn't connect the two.
And then, so the one-time fee, like what I was telling you, it costs $75 per person per day. We can always use money for bait and gear, and I spend a lot of money on bait and gear and ice and stuff like that. So there's a gear tab there, and then I spend a lot of time up in the Olympic Peninsula. I really love, and I think it's an amazing place to take veterans, and it's not not a place that the average person that doesn't make a lot of money can go.
Mm-hmm.
So I've spent a lot of time up there and really learned that area so I can take vets there. So when I go, it's about a 3.5 hour trip. So I'll take people for 1 or 2 days, and I'll have them. They can meet me up there, or they can stay with me, and I'll stay at a campground, and we'll supply places to cook and stuff. So
That's what the weekend trip is.
Yeah, weekend or weekday.
And is that $500? Is that for 2 people for the weekend?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a rough estimate.
What if people want to get involved with volunteering?
So I get a lot of offers that people want to help and take people out fishing. They have a boat, but the problem is if they're not a guide in Washington State and are not insured. And I kind of really particular on who I want to send out with who. I don't want to send somebody out with a guide that's not going to be understanding and cool. I'm trying to. We have I wouldn't say a reputation, but
Well, you
Culture?
You know how you're going to treat them.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure the standard is set
Exactly.
and that it's
Yeah.
everything's exactly how you
I
want
want
it to
them
be.
to have the best trip available. And if I don't think that person can do it, then I don't want to send them on it. And they might be the best fisher, but if they're not the best people person, then
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Yeah.
We have right now, just recently, Paul Houston is he's a combat active duty right now, but he's been through hell, and he's getting out, and he's actually he's a part-time guide with us.
Awesome.
So I've entrusted him, and I think he's a great fisherman. He's fishy, and he's going to start picking up more trips. So it's going
Cool.
to help us increase the numbers.
So in reality, it sounds like the best way that people can help Got Your Six is to help donate money so you can just take more people out fishing.
Yeah, we're kind of a small group. I don't want to get extremely large, but I would love to not pay out of my own pocket as much. So donations is great in that fashion. But we have picked up other things. A donor called me up a couple months ago that lives here in Camas and asked me if I would select 4 people to send to Alaska. So I chose out of the network 4. I didn't choose.
Sir, you choose?
No. I had them write a bio,
Yep.
and then I took that bio and I recommended it to the donor, and the donor then said, "Yay, I want that person to come." And so they're going to go on a full, extremely
Wow.
paid. They're going to fly up to Ketchikan, I think, and then a float plane over to Craig, Alaska, which is in the Prince of Wales, and fish for a week. Everything's paid for, so I get to send 4 people. So anything to help veterans is amazing. It's great. It's a tax write-off also. The supplying of boats, that might be helpful at some point in time. We're doing a derby in August working with Cathlamet, the city of Cathlamet.
So when you do those type of things, do you need like manpower?
Sometimes, yeah. I did a women's tying event, and I asked, I had 18 women come in for a jig tying event, and I
Really?
asked some fly tyers to come in and help facilitate it. So there's times I do need help. But when I'm on the boat, on the river rowing, it's kind of a one-man band. So
Yeah.
I mean, I do get help. There's another guide, Mike Michelson. The guy has more Purple Hearts than anybody I know, I think. Vietnam veteran. His Purple Heart Guide Service. This guy's an honorary veteran. Fishes like a madman. He's a great guy. He helps us too. So it's kind of hard to say how I could use volunteers. It's more kind of post it and say, hey, I got this going on. Where I could use more volunteers is we're trying to do a lot of booths. And we have a booth in Tacoma this week, and it's hard to get people to do those. And,
Yeah.
And you want people that are going to...
It's a lot of hours.
It's a lot of hours, and I spend a lot of time. If I'm not on the river, I'm generally doing something for Got Your Six, administration or booths or the shows, because I want people to know about us so they have a place to come.
So Facebook, Got Your Six.
Yep. Oh, there's a donate on Facebook too.
Okay, so like the page, if you're out there listening to this and you want to be able to make a difference, follow the page. When things come up, you'll be posting on that page, and then people can kind of know how to cater their efforts to whatever's currently going on. Is that correct?
Yeah. We're working on an event page on the website. It's in the beta process, and we had a calendar on there. You could plot what days you wanted to go out. It wasn't working out. People sometimes abuse the system, and we had people that weren't even veterans signing up to go on trips.
No.
So we had to drop that, and we're working on a new method now. So it's either the website, email, or Facebook is the best way to follow.
We want to start asking people their definition of success, but I think you did a really good job explaining it. Where you came from in 2005 to now, I mean, that's a long journey, and you got to feel a huge level of success kind of getting where you're at. Do you feel that?
Accomplishment.
Yeah, accomplishment's
I
a
feel
better word.
accomplishment.
Right.
I don't feel success. I don't know if there's an inline to success. When is successful? I feel accomplished in what I'm doing, but I don't feel success.
I think every time you get somebody on the water, I'd consider that a success.
Well, and
I think it's successful.
yeah.
Success is a big word, I think. I really, to do my darndest, and I don't know. I don't know what my version of success is. I'm being successful by helping people.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
Well, you executed your vision, right?
Yeah, the vision's ongoing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have goals, like a 5-year goal? Do you have a vision of where you want this to go, or is it good now?
My vision is to stay small. I don't want to get big. I don't want to get where I can't be down at the level with everyone else.
That's why we walked up to your booth that day. You know, you can watch Trace Atkins do Wounded Warrior commercials all day on TV. And I'm not dogging that. Sure, it's a great organization, a great place to donate your money, but you're local. You know, you just live 2 hours up the road,
Yeah.
and helping people local that, it's Washington's, this area is not a huge area.
Right.
So there's a good chance that I know somebody knows somebody that's affected by your organization. So so if you're listening, jump on to Got Your 6 Fishing. So that's GOTYOUR, the number 6fishing.com, and donate. Buy a Puget Sounds fishing trip for these guys. So thank you so much for your service, not only with this, but for your military service and everything you've sacrificed. And thanks for making the drive down.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys helping me spread the word and tell, get other veterans and active duty out here so we can get them fishing and get them hopefully fish or build a custom fishing pole and be flexible with how many trips I do. I can only do so many, and I try to get everyone out, so you've got to be flexible. But if you're really hurting, just talk to me and we'll get you out.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We need to get to 100 subscribers. Once we get to 100 subscribers, then we'll get our custom URL, and you won't have to copy and paste a bunch of confusing URL when you're sharing our YouTube channel. But subscribe below. We'll be back after the 4th of July. Thanks again. Thanks, Ryan. And we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Dude, that was great.
That was 2 hours.